There are 7 deadly sins when it comes to real estate investing that if you make these mistakes, it can cost you big time in your real estate investing journey. In today's episode, we're going to dive into these 7 deadly sins to teach you how to avoid them from our real life experience as real estate investors. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Tony Stephan. I'm joined by my wife, Andrea Stephan. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Together, we own 258 rental properties as a husband and wife team. We started with our first property in 2020, and we accumulated this rental portfolio in about 4 years. We also own a real estate brokerage and a property management business to where we manage our own deals. So we're here to share our journey and our experience with you to help you in your journey. We share our lessons from the trenches to help you in your journey. All right, so deadly sin number 1 is buying a rental property without a plan. And I definitely felt like this was us in the beginning. We were just buying whatever deals we could. We started with single family, then we bought some duplexes. But as a real estate agent and broker, you definitely see this. And it's okay to change your mind and change your opinion. Like in the beginning, we would just buy a house. The goal was to put a tenant in there for 30 years, pay off the mortgage. Now we buy multifamily apartments and we do the burst strategy, and we want to do cash out refinances within 12 months. But if I'm a new investor, how do I buy a deal, have a decent plan in place? So if I want to sell it or I want to refinance it in a couple years, I'm not going to lose money, because the number one rule of real estate is you only lose if you run out of time or money. So if I'm a new investor, what do I do?
You're just looking at the area. You want to be buying in an area that's appreciating. So when you're buying in an appreciating area, the values are going to go up to be able to do that refinance or be able to sell at a higher rate.
Okay, so never compromise on location.
No, location's really, really important.
Because you can't change the location.
No,
I think the worst deals we ever owned that we were still able to make money on, knock on wood, we've never lost money on a deal, but they were in the worst locations to where they were cash flow heavy. Can you just talk about that really quick? Because everyone wants cash flow nowadays. Right. Usually you get the highest cash flow in the worst location. It's hard to exit out of that.
I've seen that time and time again with mostly investors that are trying to sell because they're in areas that aren't the best. They've had it for a year. They're like, I got this house for under $100,000. Great deal. Tenant went in there, and then they ended up losing all their cash flow just due to non-payments or their home getting destroyed. Then they're ready to sell it. They have to either put more money into it in order to sell it, or they're going to take it at a loss.
And now when they're buying for this like cash flow, are they thinking about like the long-term strategy, or they're just like purely running the numbers and just saying like, I'm buying this deal because it looks good on a spreadsheet?
When I've seen it in this case, they're just focused on doors. In my eyes, what I've seen majority, there's no strategy behind it. It's just, I want more properties.
So I think for everyone listening, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. When you buy a real estate property or real estate investment property, should you be asking yourself, do you have to think like, what could this be worth in a couple of years? But how do you know that?
I think that goes back to, we don't have a crystal ball, right?
Right.
But I mean, certain areas, you just know that over the years, like that's why you work with a professional, right? To look back at trends to see, is this area still going up? Are they good schools in the area? Are people moving to this location? And if not, if it's going down, then that's kind of a red flag.
Deadly sin number 2, this is a big one. Underestimating repairs and maintenance, small leaks sink big ships. And this is like your category. In our partnership, I find the deal, I negotiate the deal, I get the debt on the deal, I kind of manage our funds, right? I say, hey, we've got this deal ready to refinance, got this deal coming up. You take the operations over. You take over running the deal. You run the management team that runs the maintenance and repairs. And this is a big one because you're very good at controlling this expense. So if I'm a new real estate investor coming in, I'm looking to buy a rental property, how do I know how to estimate like repairs and maintenance?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is your inspection. I never advise to purchase without an inspection being done.
Right.
So you want to hang on to that report. So if we're talking like 1 to 4 units, because that's where, a lot of people get started at 1 to 4 units, hang on to your inspection report, and that's going to have everything in there for you. You want to look at items like a roof, your major mechanicals, your AC, your furnace. If those are coming up due, you want to make sure you have cash reserves. That doesn't mean you walk away, but then you're prepared to make those fixes in the near future.
What about like routine repairs and maintenance? How much should they be budgeting for this? Is there anything with that?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people do like 5 to 10% that you should just be hanging on to for repairs and maintenance. But again, this is the importance of having either a good manager or yourself going through routinely every 60 days to make sure that you're proactive on these things, and then not all of a sudden you have this major leak. A lot of things you can prevent.
Do you see clients who come in and they just don't budget anything for repairs and maintenance?
Yes.
What would you say to that? person watching this right now?
So you have to be prepared when there's repairs and maintenance coming to account for that cost and make sure that you're setting funds aside to do that.
If I own a $500,000 rental property, how much in cash reserves would you recommend running 258 units that you have? And let's say the rent roll is $5,000 a month.
Yeah, I would say 5 to 10% of the income that you're collecting.
Annually?
Yes.
Okay, so if I make $100,000 a year, you're saying 5,000 in reserves?
Yeah, I would just hang on to that in reserves because that's one furnace, hot water tank. You just don't know when things like that are gonna go.
100%. So that leads me to deadly sin number 3, which is picking bad tenants. And we have taken over properties that have had bad tenants. And really, I would say the majority of our issues come through with eviction, right? With previous ownership's tenants. And something I put on here was one eviction can ruin a year's worth of profit. And we definitely have this right now in one of our 16 units. Again, we're here to share with you guys like the real world experience on this. We have someone that's racked up an $8,000 balance. I mean, that is freaking crazy, right?
Yeah.
So like that completely eats up your cash flow for the year.
Right.
And this is a big question we get to is like, how do you screen your tenants? How do you guys do this? Because all tenants have to get approved by you, right? Or they're
Over
the property
time,
managers.
the property
Yeah.
managers.
How can they start picking good tenants to make sure that they're getting the right people in there? Back to what we said earlier, it's about quality, not quantity, right?
Yeah, so there's a screening process. They need to do their application. We make sure that we call all their references, make sure we call their employer. Then we also do a third-party verification. There's a lot of fraud that goes on, so
Yeah.
people will send in fake bank statements. There's even something that goes as far as they can connect it to somebody that's not even their employer. That's like somebody else on the other line verifying that they work there.
Fraud's become more prevalent
Yes.
with real estate.
Yes.
Like people getting into real estate.
It happens a lot. So, I mean, that is very, very common. You really need a third-party verification system.
What do we use and what do you recommend they use?
So we use Snap. We also have Yardi, which is our management software that's connected with a third-party system that verifies. But
Nice.
if you don't have something that verifies it with your property management software, you can use Snap as well.
Got it. Okay. And what does Snap do?
So what it does is it verifies the documents. So you send all your documents through the system, and then they can pick up if it's fake documents or not. One thing to really look out for, also another thing we look out for is screening. That's a red flag. So we also look for red flags. One huge one is how many inquiries are they doing at other apartments or for mortgages or things like that. If they're constantly looking for that, especially in a short period of time, you know that this is what they're doing.
Yeah, love that. So you guys got to pick the right tenants because it's like the wrong customer. The wrong customer will cost you more than they're worth. The wrong team member will cost you more than they're worth, and the wrong tenant will as well. Deadly sin number 4 is over leveraging the property or using 100% debt. And we're gonna do a whole episode on seller financing, but seller financing is a big thing. They want to people come in and they'll ask you to write up an offer for them, and they'll say, hey, can they do seller financing? I want to put 0% down. That might sound good on paper, but your down payment is what increases the cash flow. See, that's what's weird. Everyone wants nowadays, they want a ton of cash flow and they want the least amount of money down and they want tons of upside. You know what I mean? It's like saying I want a 6-pack of abs, but I want to eat whatever I want. I never really want to go to the gym. It just doesn't add up. Something I want to teach you guys is just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. I mean, over leveraging a property really means there's not going to be much cash flow. Right. And cash flow is what gets you through those rough times. So you've seen that more and more though. People want to do the seller financing. They want to put no money down. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen too, that kind of goes back to the whole theme, quality over quantity. I see that a lot in these low priced areas that they're take it because nobody else will buy it.
They'll take what?
They'll take a 0% down or a low rate because they just want to get rid of the property. So that's also kind of a red flag. Why are they being so flexible to take anything to get rid of this property? No,
I love that. Right. And like I said, we're going to do a full episode on that. But if they're offering you these really, really great terms on
that means they can't sell it.
It means something's wrong, Now, if you are creative and come in and fix it, hey, more power to you. But we bought one of our very large deals and didn't realize that it was a big group who owned it. They raised the equity and they raised the debt.
Right.
Meaning so the debt is from the bank or from the agency, right? That's your loan, right? So let's just say it's $1 million property. You're putting 20% down. Debt is the 80%. But the equity would be the 20%. That's what you're contributing. He also raised the equity. So he was 100% leverage. And when we looked at it, it's like he wasn't making money because he had payments to the bank and then he had payments to that equity too.
He owed everybody.
He owed everybody. Yeah. The property wasn't performing well. And that's where we were like, how did this guy keep it going? Maybe he had really deep coffers. Maybe he had supplemental loans. I don't know, but it sounds good on paper. If that property goes through struggle and you are paying 100% of the leverage on it, it's so tight. Could you imagine doing that?
No, not at all.
Every property we've had has gone through tough times.
Right.
So just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. All right, deadly sin number 5 is waiting for the perfect deal or trying to beat the seller down so much on price or terms or things like that. We've said it over and over that time in the market beats trying to time the market. There's been deals like our 56 unit. I paid about $84,000 a door at that time. I felt like I was getting worked over. I felt like I was significantly overpaying. I knew it was going to be a good deal, but I just felt like I was really overpaying on it. The average price per door in that area is like $125,000 a door. Right. It looks like the deal of a century. But you get this a lot as a real estate agent and broker working with a lot of, newer investors or smaller investors. They say, I want a deal. I want to beat the seller up. Okay, hey, they're offering or they're asking for $300,000. Let's come in at $250,000 and I want them to seller finance it at 3% interest to me. Like, can you just talk about that? Like, it just doesn't, you've had like certain sellers be like, is this a real offer?
Oh yeah, no, I've had clients come to me and say they want to offer this crazy amount like what you were just saying. And then we don't look serious.
Yeah.
Because they're like, who offers something like this? Especially if it's on the market. Because again, if it's listed by a professional real estate broker, they ran the numbers. They know what it's worth. Now, could they have been off on their numbers? Sure. But if they're good at their job,
right,
then we're only talking like maybe they were off on their comps like $5,000-$10,000 maybe. So that's where you can say like present comparable sales and say like, hey, help me understand how you got that number, but we're coming up with this, so we want it to appraise.
Yes.
Right? If you have evidence behind it and data behind it, they take you seriously. But if you're just coming in being like seller financing 2%,
3%.
Yeah, 10% down. They're like, is this a joke? Like, am I getting scammed? So just be careful.
No, I love what you said. It's got to be data driven.
Yeah.
It's got to be numbers driven. Sellers are not stupid.
Right.
They know what they have. And a negotiation should be a win-win. I need to get what I need to get as a buyer, but I want the seller to feel good. I want the seller to feel like they're getting a great situation. Yeah. I see just this with newer investors. I need a deal. I want a deal. Dude, a deal, buying a property, it is so hard to just buy a good property nowadays. It's so hard to get a seller who wants to sell. We've been under contract and negotiation on 150 plus units. We've been trying to pursue a 200 plus unit deal. And even just today, we had such an aggressive offer in there for that 200 plus unit deal. What did they say? You know what? I want to get a couple more offers. I want to see what else is out there. Guys, it is getting harder and harder to do deals. So if you think you're just going to bend someone over backwards, twist their freaking arm off, if they accept such a lowball offer, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point because, I've come across that a couple times with things I've listed and things that my clients are going to buy. They're getting the 10, 15, 20 off because there's a massive issue with the property that wasn't uncovered that we didn't know about. The seller didn't know about. Either side didn't know about. So that's where you're getting the deal, but you have to use those funds that you're getting off to fix the problem.
I would say the best deal is the deal that the seller's motivated to sell, the one that you can do, and the one where there's tons of upside. Because whatever you feel like I've said this openly, I feel like I've overpaid on every deal I've done. Whatever you feel like you're overpaying on right now, like you said, as long as it's in a good area, back to what we said earlier, on my 56 unit, I'm like, dude, I'm way overpaying on this. We look like geniuses on that deal now. Not only that, we bought it $4 million below replacement cost. It's the cost that it would take to build the building today. So the best deal is the deal you can do today, right? Which brings me to deadly sin number 6, which is relying too much on cash flow. Or if you're doing like a BRRRR strategy deal, which is what you and I love to do and what we teach you guys to do, thinking that this year one cash flow is going to be tremendous on a value add deal. I think a big challenge is when people buy a deal, they'll run their spreadsheet, they'll run their analysis, which is great. You have to do this. And they think, okay, hey, if I calculate, I'm going to get $15,000 in cash flow in year one. Like that is a set number. But what are all the things that can go wrong, especially in year one, especially if you're buying a BRRRR deal, which is buy it right, rehab it, rent it up so you can refinance it. You're buying a bird deal, you're buying a failing business, and then you're expecting all this massive cash flow in year one. What are some of the things that can like just eat away in cash flow in year one specifically?
Yeah, in the first year, it's when you're offering your new lease at a new rent rate, people could move out. If you're presenting it the right way, I'm not saying that's never going to happen, but when you present it the right way, if they take the rent increase, no worries on that. But you want to account for some vacancy, because no matter what, every property we've taken over, our first leases that we're trying to present to people, they're just a little bit weary because they're like, oh, it's new management, what's in this lease?
Right.
You could explain it to them 10 ways, but they're just a little nervous because it's changed. So I think you want to account for a little bit more vacancy in the beginning, but over time you can overcome that with your management. So
100%. That's why I always tell people like cash flow is like the cherry on top of the sundae. For me, it's the tax benefits, because in year one we take a massive tax benefit because we do cost segregation studies, which we've talked about numerous times on this channel. We've done full videos on that. She's a real estate professional, so it allows us to take our depreciation against our earned income, right? We're forcing appreciation because like on that 56 unit example, you were able to take the rents from $700 to $1,000. You're forcing appreciation. The value's going up. You're getting ready to refinance all of your money out of that deal, or at least a large chunk of your money. That cash, that like to me, that's the ice cream sundae. Tax benefits, getting all my money out of the deal, appreciation, so net worth is going up, the building's value is going up. That cash flow is so variable, and really what we've done, people are like, well, how are you able to do this? We take the cash flow and we reinvest it. What are things you like to reinvest cash flow on to improve the property and to increase the value for a refinance?
yeah, I mean, there's several things. Like we did a new roof at one of our properties last year. Something as simple as like you got to really look at the property. The 56 unit, I don't think the exterior doors had been painted since it was built.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
But the tenants, they loved that. They were
Just fresh paint.
right.
On the door.
So like little things like that, just like freshen up the property.
You do a lot of exterior landscape refreshing, signs.
Yep, signs. We do that. We do like make sure every spring that our landscape looks right. We do that every spring, making sure our parking lots in Michigan, we can get a lot of potholes. So you don't have to redo the entire parking lot every year, but go out there in the spring and just fill the potholes. Not me, but
Yeah. I think a lot of people too, they want to just buy a couple deals and like live off this cash flow. You and I do not really take the cash flow out of our business. Like we just did our tax return. There's a couple six figures in cash flow there. I'm like, okay, because we reinvest all of that, you know what I mean? Or it just sits in those operating accounts. And like you said, we had to do 8 new roofs on 56 units.
Right.
That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So that cash flow goes to that. And that's why we're able to grow and scale so quickly, is we're not taking cash flow out of our deals. It's like any other business. If your business is making money, you don't want to strip every dollar you can out of the business. You want to reinvest profits for future growth to improve the business, right? Same thing with real estate investing. So understand, if you're going to do the Burr method, you're buying a failing business, you're going to have to reinvest cash flow, or you take the cash flow, but then you're using cash reserves. So it's really no difference.
right. And I think the biggest thing to remember is year one, that's why you're buying the property.
Yes.
If the rents are undervalued, you're not going to buy it and then the next month you're cash flowing what you put on your beautiful spreadsheet. It takes a little bit of time to get there. So don't focus on like that future number and what the number is right now. If you're doing your job, again, on let's say like an 8 unit, right? You should be able to go through that in 6 months. I mean, I think that's being generous.
8 units,
but I think
6 weeks.
That's being generous to, again, make sure that the tenants get to know you. Make sure you're taking care of them the right way. That's being more than generous. That's what people get stuck on. They're like, the numbers don't work, but that's why you're buying it. Because, right, it doesn't work today, but it will in the 6 to 12 months.
And that's real estate investing.
Right.
3% interest rates are gone to where every deal cash flowed at 20% down, right? We're dealing with 6.5%, 7% interest rates. US Treasury's been down, but now it's back up, right? There's so much economic uncertainty. It's like, where else are you going to put your money?
Right.
You're going to go put in a 401k that you can't touch, that you have no control over. You have a 401k right now. Tell me, who's controlling your 401k? You think it's the little guy or gal you call. Remember when you had a 401k as a school teacher? You tried to get the money?
It took a long time.
And you had to go through 3 people.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, I got to go to this person, this person, this
Right,
person.
yeah.
So the person your contact is not the person controlling your
No.
money. The stock market is so volatile right now. So volatile. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Real estate investing is truly the best. And these big hedge funds and these pension plans and all this. We were looking at like 100 plus units back to where our old home was. And I hit the broker up today and I'm like, hey, whatever happened to that deal? He's like, yeah, a pension fund bought it. A pension fund bought it. These big money market managers from Wall Street, they're getting into multifamily because it is truly the best place. So it's like, yeah, okay, you're maybe not, people are like, what's my cash on cash return in year one? Where else are you going to go put that? And like I said, get these types of benefits. So many people, we stress over and over cash flow, and we're probably like very polarizing in the space because everyone else is like, look at my 20% cash on cash return. Yeah, then a water heater goes and your cash on cash returns out the window. But the tax benefits are there. They're not like water heater went, the tax benefits are gone. No, the appreciation is there. Cash flow is the cherry on top. Hey, real quick, before I give you the last deadly sin, if you're enjoying this video, all I want you to do is hit the thumbs up. Drop a meaningful comment in the comment section. What's your takeaway? Again, we're trying to give you guys a very real perspective here that not too many other people share on YouTube, right? They really sell the upside. We're trying to sell the reality of it and push you to do it, but give you information because information creates awareness. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe because we do these videos to you. And the more subscribers we get, the more videos we can create. So with that being said, deadly sin number 7, quitting too soon. Giving up on your dreams. There was a moment in, I believe, 2022. We had third-party management. We had 87 units. It was a fateful night. I was on my cloud couch by Restoration Hardware, which is a stupidly expensive couch, but I would tell you guys, gosh darn it, it is worth it. This pillow bed, and it's amazing. And I like to sit in there to watch some of my Sopranos or some of my mafia movies, and then I like to go to bed. Andrea is a night person. I'm a morning person. I'm charged up in the morning. She's charged up at night. She storms into the room and says, we need to talk. And it's 9 o'clock at night. And she goes, we're in the red on this business that you sold me on was a great business to put our money to. You said liquidate our 401ks. Don't worry about the stock market. We're going to create a real estate business. Right?
Right.
We're in the red. And I cheerfully and joyfully said, please explain to me, sweetheart, what you mean at 9 o'clock at night as I'm literally watching Tony Soprano eat a big plate of spaghetti. But what she discovered, because awareness precedes change, right? You have to be aware of your numbers. This third-party management company was spending our money so much. The vacancy was so high. The delinquency was so high. We were having to take personal funds and feed this business. Yeah. And we really decided if we don't manage these properties ourselves, we got to quit.
Right.
Thank God we took over the management.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't easy and it wasn't always fun. And again, I've given credit on podcasts, on stages, whatever. Without her, there is no Tony Pro Investments. There is no 258 units. There is no big, pretty buildings with pretty signs because you spearheaded that. But if we would have gave up then, I don't know where we would have been today. Right? Like, again, what else would we have been doing? So if there's a newer investor on there who's maybe having that realization, like we had, they're 1 year into it, they're 2 years into this, they're like, this isn't what I thought. I thought I'd be on Newport Beach here or Malibu Beach sipping Mai Tais with my 10 rental properties. But it's hard. It's a business. I have to manage. I have to understand accounting. I have to understand leasing. I have to understand all of these things, repairs, maintenance. Do they keep going? Do they quit? What do they do?
Yeah, I mean, it does work. So you got to keep going because we said, okay, either we're going to sell everything, right?
Right.
Because we have to make a decision, or we're going to switch management, right? Yep. So all this to say too, you don't have to manage yourself. Right? Who we were with didn't work for us. But there are good management companies out there, but that's why you have to be aware. But no, it's not something to just give up on. I mean, when you're talking 10 grand a unit turn, that is absurd. Yeah. That's absurd.
Plus 4 months of vacancy.
And we're not even talking like to upgrade to like granite. Like we're just talking to turn a unit, to paint new carpet.
Dude, remember it was like 20 grand for one of those units.
Yeah, because they had to go back in there.
You don't understand. You pay for all of that.
Right.
You pay for all of this extra work, all these contracts.
And you're not making that decision.
That's what I mean with these management companies. I disagree. You got to manage yourself. If you actually really want to make money, because if not, I think you're lying to yourself. I think you are when it comes to the money because they will spend money like it's going out of style because it's not their money. And everything they're doing, oh, hey, we're going to market it more. They're going to just charge that all to you. Right. They're going to try to spend as much money as possible to make the job as easy as them as possible. So no, I will die on that hill. I don't know how third-party management works for people. Yeah. I really don't. You know what I mean? So I think you got to decide, do I want to be in a business? Yeah. Do I want to be an entrepreneur? And do I want to take over a business and run a business? It isn't always fun and easy, but it ends up being great. Continue.
Well, I think to that point of the third party, okay, if you're not somebody that's handy, that doesn't mean you can't do it. You can find a handyman to do your things. You can find a VA or a personal assistant to run your numbers and run your books. So you don't have to have it all on you, but no, you have to be involved because then also too, then your numbers are like that was the other thing. I ran our numbers still, but they would be like 2-3 months behind.
Yes.
So, which makes sense because then they have to collect and then they have to pay out. So that is another thing that also too didn't work for our style. But all this to say is, right, we decided to keep going because we believed in it. Just how it was being run was not being run. We decided to move forward and keep going, and yeah, it was the best decision.
Best decision ever. So if you're in that first year, that second year, it's been a little tough. I mean, you've been doing it for 5 years. Don't give up, but just what she's saying is reevaluate the plan. We had to reevaluate the plan. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting the same result. Be willing to evaluate the plan.
And I do have like one other example of a client that I'm working with right now, owned rental properties for about 10 years. And then again, he was like running the numbers, and we put his properties for sale, and he's like kind of a thing of, am I going to keep doing it? He's like, no, I'm just ready to, I made my money here. I'm either going to sell these and just take the funds to like live off of, because he owned them all outright, or I'm going to go into the next thing. And now that he's looking at the next properties that are going to be multifamily, he's super excited, and he's going to cash flow so much more than he is right now.
So much
no,
money.
It's crazy because of what he has to put down, but he held on to those for 10 to 12 years before making this switch.
Right.
So
Love that. So those are the 7 deadly sins of real estate investing. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. As always, thank you so much for being here. All we ask from you is you do a couple of things for us as we document our journey to help you in yours. Number 1, if you like the content, hit the thumbs up, and make sure if you're not subscribed to our channel, make sure you subscribe. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers, and that's thank you to you guys for being here on this journey with us. We love it. Dropping meaningful comment. Do you agree? Do you disagree? We want more conversation. We want more community. So drop a comment. Let us know where you're investing at or what you're doing. And as always, thank you so much for being here. Grab all the free resources in the link below. If you want to learn more about working with the Stephan Group Real Estate Brokerage, check that out. If you're looking for one-on-one coaching and mentorship, from time to time, I work one-on-one with students to help them get their first small multifamily BRRRR deal and then exit the deal in 12 to 18 months, get all their capital out. Check the link below. Till next time, we'll talk soon. Thanks.